Right now, somewhere in this video, you are going to yawn. Not because you're tired, not because it's boring, because your brain is about to make you do it. Watch what happens in the next few seconds. You probably felt something just then. A small pull behind your jaw, a twitch in your chest. That's not an accident. That's 300,000 years of biology working exactly as designed. You've been told yawning means you're sleepy. That's the story everyone repeats. But the real answer is far stranger. Yawning isn't about sleep at all. It's a signal passed down from creatures that existed long before humans did. And it's still running in the background of your body today. Let's start with what you already know. You yawn when you wake up. You yawn when you're bored in a meeting. You yawn when someone across the room yawns first, even if you can't stand them. Why would your body copy a stranger's yawn without asking your permission? Here's where it gets interesting. In the early 2000s, psychologist Robert Provine at the University of Maryland spent years studying yawning in a way almost nobody had before. He didn't ask people why they yawned. He just watched them do it, thousands of times in labs and hallways and waiting rooms. What he found broke the sleepy brain theory apart. Yawns spread between people, almost like a cough spreads a cold. Show someone a video of a yawning face, and within seconds, their own jaw starts to stretch. Provine discovered that even reading the word yawn was enough to trigger one in nearly half the people tested. You may have already felt it happening to you in this video. That's not weakness. That's wiring. So if it isn't about sleep, what is it about? Go back further. Long before humans stood upright, before language, before fire, animals were yawning. Fish yawn, snakes yawn, dogs yawn when their owner yawns near them. This behavior is ancient, stretching across almost every vertebrate species on Earth. Something this widespread, this deeply rooted, doesn't survive millions of years of evolution by accident. It survives because it does something useful. Researcher Andrew Gallup, who has spent much of his career studying the function of yawning, proposed an idea that reframed the whole behavior. Your brain runs best within a narrow temperature range, like an engine that overheats if it's pushed too hard. Gallup's research suggests that yawning acts like a cooling system. The deep inhale of a yawn pulls in cooler air. The stretch of your jaw increases blood flow near your skull. Together, they may help bring an overheated brain back down to its ideal working temperature. Think about when you yawn most. Right after waking, when your brain is shifting from a low-activity sleep state into full alertness. During long, monotonous stretches when your focus starts to drift and your brain temperature can creep upward. Your body isn't announcing that it's tired, it's making an adjustment, quietly, to keep your mind sharp. But that still doesn't explain the strangest part. Why does someone else's yawn make you yawn too? This is where the story turns towards something deeply human, or more accurately, something deeply animal that humans happen to share. Contagious yawning has been observed in chimpanzees, in dogs, and in humans, almost always spreading faster between individuals who are emotionally close. A 2011 study led by primatologist Elisabetta Palagi found that in chimpanzees, yawns spread more readily between friends than between strangers or rivals in the same group. The closer the bond, the faster the yawn traveled. Sit with that for a second. Your yawn might be a mirror, not of tiredness, but of connection. Some researchers believe contagious yawning is tied to the same brain circuitry involved in empathy, the ability to sense and mirror what someone else is feeling. When you watch a friend yawn, a network in your brain quietly rehearses the same motion, the same state, almost like your body is syncing itself to theirs. Dogs have even been shown to catch yawns from their human owners more than from strangers, hinting that this mirroring crosses the line between species entirely. Here's the counterintuitive twist. The very thing you were taught to hide, to stifle behind your hand in a meeting, to apologize for at the dinner table, might actually be proof that your brain is doing exactly what it evolved to do, regulating itself, reading the people around it, staying connected to a group it depends on for survival.
For most of human history, survival meant staying alert with the tribe, and staying alert with the tribe meant staying in sync with the tribe. A wave of yawns moving through a group of early humans around a fire wasn't laziness. It may have been a shared signal, brains adjusting together, readiness spreading like a current through the group. If one person's brain needed to cool down and reset, it made sense for the whole group to shift together, especially before sleep, when everyone needed to be on the same rhythm for safety. You don't live around a fire anymore. You live around screens, around open offices, around long car rides and late-night scrolling. But the mechanism never updated. It's still running the same ancient code. When your brain temperature rises, when your alertness dips, when someone near you yawns first, your body reaches back 300,000 years and pulls the same lever your ancestors did.
There's something almost strange about how ordinary this makes the extraordinary. You don't need a special moment to witness deep evolutionary history. You don't need a museum or a fossil. You just need to sit in a quiet room long enough, or watch someone else's face for a few seconds too long. Even more curious, studies have found that yawning contagion tends to weaken with age and can look different in people with certain neurological and developmental differences, offering scientists a small but telling window into how empathy and social mirroring develop in the human brain. A behavior this simple, stretching your jaw and taking a slow breath, is quietly wrapped up in questions about temperature regulation, alertness, empathy, and the invisible bonds holding a group together.
So the next time you feel that pull behind your jaw, in a lecture, on a long drive, across a table from someone you love, notice it instead of hiding it. It's not your body failing you. It's your body doing something it has done since long before there were words for what it was doing. Cooling an overworked mind, syncing you to the people around you, running a program written in a language older than language itself. There's a detail most people never think about, and it makes the whole picture even stranger. Yawning doesn't just happen on its own schedule. It answers to the room you're in. Gallup's research found that people yawn more often in warm environments than in cool ones, and yawn less when a cool pack is pressed against the forehead during the trigger. Change the temperature around a brain, and you change how hard that brain reaches for its own built-in cooling switch. Your yawn isn't just responding to your internal state. It's constantly reading the environment around you and adjusting in real time.
Now widen the lens even further. Yawning shows up in creatures that split off from the human lineage tens of millions of years before your great-great-grandparents existed. Snakes unhinge their jaws in long, slow stretches after a meal. Birds do it. Even some fish display a version of it, a wide open-mouth gesture that looks almost identical to what happens on your own face right now. When a behavior survives across that much evolutionary distance, across that many extinctions, ice ages, and total resets of the animal kingdom, it isn't decoration, it's function, preserved because the animals who kept doing it outcompeted the ones who didn't. Which raises the real question hiding underneath all of this. If yawning is this useful, why did it also become something people are embarrassed by? Why do you cover your mouth? Why do you apologize for it in a meeting, as if your body just betrayed you in front of your coworkers?
Part of the answer is cultural, not biological. In many settings, an open mouth reads as a lack of interest, even disrespect. So people learn to mask a reflex their body never asked permission to perform. But part of the answer runs deeper than manners. An uncontrolled yawn, spreading silently across a room, is a small, visible reminder that you are not fully in charge of your own body. Something older than your personality, older than your conscious mind, is pulling the strings for a few seconds. And most people find that unsettling if they stop to notice it. Here's the twist that changes how you might see it from now on. That loss of control isn't a flaw. It's a feature that has been quietly protecting groups of humans for longer than agriculture has existed, longer than cities, longer than most species alive today. Contagious yawning likely didn't survive evolution because it looked polite. It survived because it kept early human groups synchronized, alert at the same moments, resting at the same moments, and tuned into each other's internal states without needing to say a single word. Consider what that would have meant around a fire 60,000 years ago. No clocks, no calendars, no spoken agreement about when it was time to sleep. Just a slow wave of yawns moving from one face to the next. Brains quietly signaling readiness. Group cohesion happening below the level of conscious thought. A tribe that stayed in sync stayed safer. Watches were easier to coordinate. Transitions from alertness to rest happened together instead of leaving some members awake and vulnerable while others slept. A behavior that looks small and involuntary today may have been part of the invisible social glue that helped a small band of humans survive a hostile world. And the empathy connection makes this even more personal. Multiple studies on contagious yawning in humans have found that people who score higher on measures of empathy tend to catch yawns more easily and more often. Your yawn, in other words, might be quietly measuring how attuned you are to the people around you, whether you realize it or not. It isn't just a physical reflex, it's a small, constant readout of your social brain in action.
This is also why contagious yawning shows up differently across different people. Very young children rarely catch a yawn from an adult because the brain networks tied to social mirroring are still developing. Some research on autism has explored differences in yawn contagion as one small data point among many in understanding how social mirroring develops differently from person to person. None of this makes yawning simple. It makes it one of the most quietly complicated things your body does every single day, hiding in plain sight behind something so ordinary you barely register it happening. So think about your day differently now. Every time your jaw stretches on its own, your brain is running a temperature check it inherited from ancestors who never saw a clock. Every time a stranger's yawn pulls one out of you on a train or in a waiting room, your social brain is quietly registering a connection, even to someone you will never speak to. Every time you fight to hold one back in a meeting, you're overriding a signal that has outlived ice ages, mass extinctions, and every civilization that came before this one. You didn't choose to yawn while watching this. Your ancestors chose it for you 300,000 years ago, and your brain never stopped listening.